All right. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. We're gonna just give a few seconds, and we're gonna see if Louis Witter with Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network is gonna jump on. So just give us a few seconds. But we are live, by the way. Also gonna be sharing this stream to Caribbean American Diaspora Facebook page. We just shared it there. It's dropping on Caribbean Diaspora Vibes. And it's also going on Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network. So we should be, all right. So we should be live in several different places. All right, everyone, we are live on Facebook and we are live on Caribbean American Diaspora Facebook page, on Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network, on Caribbean Diaspora Vibes. Welcome everyone. My name is Donna Morton Morgan, and I am the president of Caribbean American Diaspora Alliance, president of Women of Culture Incorporated, real estate broker, Florida real estate broker, and mindset coach. We want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us. We may have Louis Witter with Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network. Everybody's moving around today. He may jump on a little later, but we're going to go ahead and get the show started tonight. We've got wonderful information. We've got a global conversation going on about autism, autism awareness. People are still trying to get as much information, a lot of new diagnosis. So people would like to hear, what to expect or tips, really. We've done autism now awareness for several years, and we've always had a good feedback on this information. So now we're stepping into the Caribbean really to get the perspective there with autism and how it's being handled, how is the family unit, how is the social aspect of it. And so we are excited to give you that information tonight. I see Dr. Bevan Dabrio is on. I'm not sure if she's going to come on camera, but we just want to big her up. Also, Dr. Arlene may or may not jump on tonight. Some people are traveling, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome back. We've got some amazing women, and some will be joining us later on. Let's start with Dominica. Let's go all the way to Dominica, right? Because I want to hear, give us a look from Beverly. We got two Beverlys on tonight, right? We've got Beverly in Dominica, and we've got Beverly in Florida. But Beverly and Dominica, Beverly LeBlanc, tell us a little bit about you. So each person will have like 10 minutes. And tell us about your work with autism. What are you seeing? How are you contributing to just bringing the awareness?
Okay, so good evening and thank you for having me. It is really an honor to be on your program tonight. And thank you so much for having me with all these esteemed guests. My name is Beverly Leblanc. I'm a special education consultant. So my background is a teacher educator, but more specializing in special education. And so I train teachers, and I also do have my organization called Circle of Friends and Achievement Learning Center. So my work really surrounds working with families of children with disabilities and special needs. And being a teacher and realizing that a lot of students were falling through the cracks. So I took that route, and it has been challenging but rewarding. Because in Dominica, we don't really have a structured special education program, and not much. I don't think much is expected of these children. So it's like you feel like a lone voice in the wilderness. But when I see the successes with the children, that brings joy to my heart. And so it has been a long journey. I have my school from 2011. We started with two students, but we are keep growing. And there was once upon a time, the high incident disability was hearing impairment. We had a school for hearing impairment, and that went down to Down syndrome. And now we have a very high incident rate of children with autism. And the diagnosis doesn't really fall very well with our parents. So it's almost like you being diagnosed with cancer. And so they try to say, oh, he doesn't have autism, he just have his speech, he just has a speech impairment. So they try to kind of work around it because they think the other diagnosis is more palatable than say autism.
Mhm.
So this is one of the challenges we are having with parents coming to grasp with the fact that their child may be on the spectrum. So we have to have this continuous awareness as to what it is. You're on the spectrum, you can be anywhere on the spectrum, and working with the children. In our school, at presently, majority of our children are on the spectrum at different levels. And what we have seen though is the parents who kind of embrace the child's disability and work with the children, we have better results than those who are still in denial. So this is the challenge we have. A lot of the challenges we have is with the parents admitting the fact that their child is on the spectrum. And this is basically not only for autism, but for all disabilities. But because it is on a rise, we're really not sure why, but we have so many students, children now being diagnosed with autism. But on the positive side, because of the work we do at Achievement Learning Center, which is the name of my school, because of the work that we do, we find a lot of parents are disclosing. They are now coming to say, I need help for my child. And then we try with the limited resources that we have to provide the services for the children. But we have seen a lot of progress, a lot of success stories with the children we work with, even with our limited resources.
So, Dominica, it's always a blessing to be referred to professionals around the world and getting their point of view and their perspective in these areas. I think we've been blessed and we've been fortunate to connect on this level. We definitely thank you. Um, let's jump back into Beverly Dabrio, who's here in Florida, and most of you, she's been on many, many times with us. So, Beverly, tell us a little bit about you. And also at the end, if you've got any Facebook website, anything with your business, we want you ladies to please share that information.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. I am Beverly Dabrio. I run a private practice in Orlando, Florida. I'm a board certified behavior analyst. Most of my clients are diagnosed with autism. However, I do have clients who are also diagnosed with other disabilities, including ADHD and OCD. The rise in autism continues as it has been steadily growing. I believe the CDC is reporting about 1 in 36 children diagnosed with autism. Boys are more likely to be diagnosed with autism than girls. The symptoms in boys are actually more prevalent than the symptoms in girls. The main thing we're seeing, I am seeing the struggle with it's not so much as people accepting the differences or people being sensitive to individuals with autism. But one of the main struggles I'm seeing is funding for services.
Mm.
And that may be funding within the school system or insurance companies or state agencies. There's a lack of funding for autism. So that's the main thing I'm seeing right now. A lot of the stigma is really not there or not so pronounced, because the thing with these diagnoses is that once your child is diagnosed, no one really knows that your child has autism. So if there's a stigma about anything, it may be about the way your child does certain things, or mainly the way your child is behaving a lot of times. Because, you know, as humans, we tend to focus on behaviors more than anything else. So that's where the stigma really is. So I always encourage parents to get an early diagnosis, because the early intervention, that is the number one thing that matters most in terms of recovery or in terms of improvement. So early diagnoses, early intervention, if you want to call it a treatment, that would be the best treatment, to do something early on. Once children grow, the behaviors, the habits are already set in. It's more difficult. Not that you can't change it, it's just more difficult as they become older. So I encourage you, if you see any of the signs or symptoms, I encourage you to look into it further. And a lot of the interventions for autism, actually, the interventions that are actually evidence-based and the interventions that are actually proven to work, these interventions are not dangerous interventions. These interventions look more like learning. It looks more like education, teaching your child how to do certain things. So the interventions are not really dangerous interventions. So yeah, that would be my suggestion to use, to get an early diagnosis and early intervention. Even if your child doesn't get a diagnosis of autism, your child may get an diagnosis of developmentally delayed. So which means your child is at risk of developing autism. So autism may not be there at 2 or 3, but it may come in at 4 or 5. Also, yes, autism can be diagnosed at, I would say, at 1 years old, you know, and I would even go a little further. So my youngest client seeking intervention ever was 4 months old. So that's how early we can begin to intervene.
Thank you, because we're definitely going to come back and we want to talk about signs. Okay, so for those new parents that, even like you said, a newborn, what to look for in the different areas. So let's get an introduction from Michele Francis. And, we forgot to say, wait a minute, we forgot to say Beverly. Of course, Leblanc is from Dominica, residing and practicing in Dominica. Beverly Dabrio, of course, heritage is from Antigua and Barbuda and lives here in Florida. And then Michele Francis, who's about to come on, is from Heritage Grenada. You know, Caribbeans, we gotta mention the heritage, right? So I apologize. And Michele lives also in Florida. Welcome, Michele. Tell us about you.
Thank you. Thank you. So as you mentioned, my name is Michele Francis. I'm Grenadian born. I've taught in Grenada for over 20 years. I am currently working in special education here in the United States, the Sunshine States, Florida, to be exact. And I'm currently working with children on the spectrum. I've done that all my life with them. I am ASD certified in the state, ADOS certified as well, youth mental health, and all of that. I must say it's a very interesting day today to start this conversation. Twofolds. Last in 2023, I believe, I held one of the first autism awareness campaign in Grenada. It was held at the stadium, and it for families and stakeholders. It was very well attended. And what I noticed, what you guys probably noticed, across the Caribbean region, there is this lack of awareness. And so the problem we experience in Dominica, I'm telling you, it's the same problem that is experienced in Grenada. One of the things I encounter is the lack of data. So there's no data, no source of information, who, where, what. There is the Autism Foundation in Grenada. I collaborate with them as well. However, there is this lack of information. Now, what is interesting with today's conversation is just 15 minutes before we came on, CNN came on. And on CNN News today, 15 minutes before you started, the headline is, the CDC has now talked about autism has gone from 1 in 36 to 1 in 31. I think Beverly mentioned, it says 1 in 31. It talks about boys are more impacted than girls. And the question is raised as to why. And ironically, I had the very same conversation yesterday. Why? And I've had parents asking, is there an increase? Is it contagious? It's not contagious. The increase now, it's a good sign in the sense that we have more awareness. So people are more able to awareness. Parents are now becoming a bit more accepting. So they would now willing to take the child to get, evaluated. So we see that number go up. What would have not been the case a couple of years ago. So the number stayed at 1 in 53, 1 in 36, and all of that. So the numbers is getting high. It might look scary, but I think it's a good thing in the sense that the awareness is there. And with the awareness comes, hopefully people will be educated. We will have inclusion, acceptance, awareness. There is awareness and there is acceptance. So we look at all of this unraveling. They talked about the one of the questions that came out in Grenada was, I asked, what is autism? I threw the question out, and we all as Caribbean people have to be mindful of the cultural stigma.
Yes.
And the cultural definition. It was just amazing as to the perception of autism. And I know we live and people are hearing, but I'm going to share some of the feedbacks that I got. I got autism was caused by botched abortion, old age people, voodoo, just name it. And we have to be mindful, that's just our that's our cultural understanding of autism, which begs the question, what is autism? What is autism? What does autism look like?
Right.
Who? And all of this, I hope, as we go on tonight, we'll be able to, bring some light to these questions, to the people as to the characteristics. What does it look like? Who get affected? Can I catch it? What do I do? And Bev nicely mentioned the early intervention as a BCBA. I know that's key. And you hit it spot on. Early intervention is the key. Questions again we hear, is there a cure for autism? I actually do. I'm tempted not to repeat that, but CNN is saying they'll have a cure as early as December, I believe. So we hear all of that. The myths of autism. So I don't know how much time that we would have tonight, but I hope we're better able to delve into all of this. What exactly is autism? What does it look like? What do I do? And while I'm here on the question, what do? I just wanted to share too that I am the founder of the Sibling Workshop, which is really focused on answering the question, what do I do? In the sense that, so your child you have a diagnosis of autism or other disability, what do I do? So our workshop, the Sibling Workshop, qsbsibs.org, we really want to focus on helping the caregivers and the siblings navigate the world of disability and autism and other disability. So I can pause here tonight.
I definitely think probably the caregivers probably need more help then, right? Because you're a new parent and then your child, you notice something is different. Yeah, what do you do? How do you know? Like, so would be in the early stages, even like the first year, for example, then how would you even be able to tell if your child is suffering with autism?
Is that open?
Let's start with you, Michele, and then we'll get different
Right.
responses.
So one of the things I say as parents, you have to understand the milestones. You have to understand the milestones of your child. Talk with your child, with your pediatrician. At certain age, I will tell you at XYZ age, at 5 months or 6 months, certain things should be happening. And although we know, all children develop differently, but they're milestones.
Right.
So, and there is this thing, there is this parent instinct. Trust me, every parent with a child with autism, there is something you pick up that gut feeling, something isn't right about my child. As much as you want to shelter, protect, it is in the child's best interest to seek help early. Again, as we say, early intervention is the key. So my answer to that would be watch the milestone, have conversation with your pediatrician. He isn't doing this at this age, and you go out, you look. If you have children before, you can gauge. If you're a new parent, talk with your pediatrician.
Yeah, the milestones. I like that. That is key. And, I know the numbers are a little scary, especially when we do see them in the news. So people are saying, well, wait, it's like now more and more, children are being diagnosed. So maybe more parents are actually, you know, being real and say, well, yeah, I'm noticing something is different. Let's get this checked out. So is it something that you're going to see at that early age, or can they move to like maybe age 3? Like Beverly, does it something you can miss early and then age 3 and 4? You see
Yeah,
something?
so early on would be something like lack of babbling, because that is the way a baby speaks, by babbling. Lack of making eye contact. A baby is going to look at your face, smile at you, interact with you, whether or not they're able to speak. So if that's not there, then that is a sign. Also, look for risk factors. Like if your baby was born early term, that's a risk factor, because autism isn't, you don't have to be born with autism, even though some people are. You can also develop autism because you were born with risk factors. So being early term could be a risk factor for developing autism. So if your child was born early term, you want to keep an eye on that child and make sure your child is developing typically, or the way other children are developing.
Okay. Any comment on that question, Beverly LeBlanc?
Yeah,
Oops, you're muted again.
I want to comment on something that Michele said, because it's something whenever I have workshops with my parents, And even when I'm doing my teacher training, I say early intervention saves lives, and it's not just for cancer. So I put it like this. I say early intervention saves lives, and it's not for cancer. So when I speak to parents and then they're still struggling with the diagnosis, or they may see things and they were like, I'm afraid, I'm afraid of what I'm going to find out. So that you have some parents, it's not like they don't identify, because they know the milestones, they know where the children are supposed to be, even if it may be their first child, but they may have seen their parents, their neighbors or their siblings. So they will pick up some things, they will feel like uneasy. You have a parent instinct. You will feel that uneasiness in your stomach, like something is just not right. And so some of them, they do not want to go to the pediatrician because they're afraid of what, especially now. Because I mean, and Michelle put a mail at some points, and this is what we are having. We have some parents who tell you, oh, is voodoo ready to my child? So they take their child to all different priests and give the child all kind of bush medicine because they think, oh, that my child doesn't have autism, that is, they did my child bad, as we do it in the region. But then the thing about it is that, so they go all around the bushes without actually dealing with the issue. So some of them, it's not like they do not recognize the signs, they are just afraid of finding out. And then going back to awareness. So that is where we have to let them understand that getting a diagnosis, you're on the spectrum, and you can be anywhere on the spectrum. You can be high functioning and you may lack social skills and all these. You can be anywhere. But what we are telling them is that if we are going to help your child, as I'm speaking from an institution, an organization that provides support, access, and advocacy, if I'm going to advocate for your child, if I'm going to provide support for your child, then I need you to be with me, because we have seen that our oldest student at the school, she's a teenager. She came to us when she was 4.5, and her parents accepted the diagnosis. That was not her first child. That was her first. She had a son before, but then she worked with us, and we learned so much with her by having her from the parent, because she made it a point of duty to research, to find out what it is her child has. And she didn't blame herself. It was not anything that she did. And then so she educated herself, and then she was able to share certain things with us, to the point where she would tell us, please do not send home any homework. I mean, homework could be probably to help her to maybe put a shirt on, because it's basically with her, she was not academically functioned, but she could do skills. But this child was so bright. She compartmentalized what is for school and what is for home. So the same thing that she would not do at home for her mother, she would do it for us. So her mother would say, but I don't understand. But then what we realize that you are mommy, you are not teacher. So when I come home, you have to make my tea, you have to give me my bath, you have to look at TV. Do not do homework with me. You're not teacher. So in her mind, that is how she looked at it. So mommy told us, please. So then we had to realize anything that she wanted her to, we wanted her to do first, whether it's to color, whether it's to cut and paste, whatever, because we wanted to develop her fine motor skills, we had to let her do it at home, at school. And then so we know when it's lunchtime, we cannot just give her everything in one plate. Everything has to be had. She had to have the gravy in one bowl. So the mommy was teaching us how to work with a child, but it's because she accepted it and she learned. She looked for the information. Now this is one child. On the other end, oh, my child doesn't have autism. He just have a speech impairment. I'm looking for a speech therapist. But not having expressive language is one of it goes with autism. But we have all the other behaviors. We have the flapping. We have the no eye contact. We have all the tantrums. There's everything there. And then so although we shared with them, they would not accept it. So I keep telling them, early intervention saves lives. Another thing we find, and again, is that The parents, I have a parent empowerment group, because under my organization, Circle of Friends, we have the access to education, which is provided under Achievement Learning Center. And we have support and advocacy, which is provided under the parent empowerment group. So on Monday, on our WhatsApp group, we have Motivational Monday. And on Tuesday, we have Truth Tuesday. So you tell your truth as it is. So there was one parent who said she feels like God is punishing her.
Mm-hmm.
So that is her truth. She feels like God is punishing her. But in my interaction with her, I said, Mommy, your son feeds from your emotion, because they will feed from your emotion. So if you are stressed out and you're tired and you see them like it's a broken vehicle to be fixed, they get that frustration from you and they will respond. But if you are calm, and then they will respond to you. And I told her, God is not punishing you. One of the things I've told parents, and sometimes they laugh, I said, let me tell you something. God had two children to send to the earth. One with a disability, one without a disability. And he decided, okay, this is disability, not disability. I'm going to look for a parent to give that child to. Your child disability has nothing to do with your child. Your child disability has to do with you, because there are some things in you that God has to pull out. There are places that you have to go, and you will only get there because the child with disability will be your sandpaper that will smooth you to prepare you for your destiny. That is one of the ways I motivate them, so they can acknowledge the fact, okay, you know what, I'm going to see my child differently. So sometimes they come and I feel sometimes they would come and they were waiting for us to say, oh my God, can you believe that your child is fixed? It's not a tire, it's not a vehicle that had a burst tire that you brought to the school and we fix the tire for you. It's a whole child, and let's work together. So going back to the awareness, a lot of the awareness has to do also with the parents accepting that the child has a disability, and the name of the disability is autism. The child is somewhere on the spectrum. And then you know what? We now have an organization, an institution that is willing to work with us. So let's see how we can put this thing together. We do not have the paraprofessionals, so we do not have the occupational therapists and the speech therapists. What we do, we model, we research, we tap into our resources when we can get free resources, because it is expensive. I'm pretty much sure Michele, Francis, and Bev can tell us it is special education is expensive.
Yes.
You have to pay for it is expensive. Now the parents are struggling to pay the $450 EC dollars a month for the school fee. That's all they pay, and they still cannot pay it. So I've run out of resources because I don't have any of my personal resources to put in the school anymore. But at the end of the day, had it not been for that school, there's some children who wouldn't have a place to go. So we are trying our best with that. And what we do with our teachers, we do a lot of research, we look at a lot of videos, we find out information. You know, when World Pediatrics come to Dominica, we go to their clinics, we work with the occupational therapists, pick up some skills. So with the limited resources we have, we work with the parents. We have successes with the parents who accept it. But those who still think that my child doesn't have autism, they did my child voodoo, and it's something that is wrong, and this is what we just keep going round and round the mulberry bush, because we're not getting anywhere, because everything we do when they go home, they do not reinforce it. So this is where we have, in terms of parents who accept and work with us, they share with us, we tell us, okay, tell us what we can do. Those who do not, their children are behind. And it's not through our fault, it's because they have not accepted it. Some of them are still, again, depending on the parent. Because, okay, I am such and such, so I am a teacher there. Why should I have a child with autism? Why shouldn't you? Because it doesn't choose who gets. I mean, it's not something you can choose. So I'm going to that supermarket, I'm going to that supermarket, you know. And then things happen. You have the risk, pregnancy risk. You have other factors that can contribute to it. But at the end of the day, early intervention saves lives. So in terms of, when I was reading the article that Michele shared today, in terms of um, the writer of the article was saying it's a good thing. It's good news because you know what? Before these children were hidden, we wouldn't know. And when we look at them now, we're like, oh, we remember Jojo in our neighborhood and remember Mary that was next by the neighbor. And we say, oh, so that's what Jojo had. And that's what Mary had. Because they have always been with us. We just didn't have a name for it.
True.
But I'm sure you can remember Jojo that was living
Yeah.
behind great house, and Mary who was by Uncle Fed. We had them with us. We just didn't have a name for it. So now that we are seeing this behavior, we can make the connection. So I think with the increasing numbers, I think more and more parents are becoming more observant. Teachers are becoming more observant. Teachers are becoming they are seeking out help. Like today, my mom was like, "Oh, I spoke to this principal, and she was like, oh, right now they are registering children for the new school academic year." And she was like, "Oh, tell me, Sleep, I have some children to send for because I am not an expert, but I did some screening and I picked up some." So even teachers, they realize they may not be expert, they are not specialists in that particular field, but they are reading. And then so they are becoming more observant in looking at some of the signs, some of the symptoms. Okay, you have not reached that milestone, you are displayed. So and I think this is why the numbers are increasing because more and more people are reading and the parents are feeling more comfortable to talk about their child and the diagnosis.
Yeah, that's definitely very, very possible. We want to welcome Miss Alexandra Jeanty, whose heritage is actually Haiti and another Florida resident. And what we've been hearing as we let Alexandra tell us about her is people, parents are asking, is it something that I can avoid? Was it the food? Is it the vaccine? So these are questions that's coming in from parents. Is it something that I can do to avoid my child, becoming autistic? So let's hear from Miss Alexandra. How are you?
Hi, I'm very good. Thank you for putting this together. I'm very pleased to be here and very grateful to be here with other lovely women from the Caribbean. And this is such an important conversation to have with people of the Caribbean. I love the way that Miss Leblanc was saying a few things that seem like out of this world and really, really interesting. So just to introduce myself, I have a nonprofit and it's called Mindful Art Education. And we do mindfulness, art as a healing tool, and yoga for children and families. And this year was our second year, our second session to celebrate autism awareness during Autism Awareness Month. And this year we did it in such a special way. Every year we want to do something special. This year we had a scholarship opportunity for coding for children, for autistic children, and to introduce coding as well, because we've had so many parents asking, what can my child do? What is the job that they'll have in the future? What do you think? And I always try to go one step forward. And so we were able to offer coding. We also offered drumming session, which is very good for autistic children as well, for everybody. It was a fun day, a fun event day. That we did painting as well. And the paint is going to be auctioned soon, hopefully before the end of this month. So the idea is really for families to celebrate, but within that celebration, we bring the awareness as well so that for parents to feel that they're not alone and for other people to meet other children as well so that in their conversation, they feel more comfortable. They don't feel that there's a stigma or bullied or feel different. And that's what we try to do in such a lovely way. So we were able to do that this year, and I'm very happy about that. As a autism specialist, I would say that I try to bring the normalcy either with the children that I'm working with, and also try to find different resources for the parents. And like Miss Leblanc just said, the earlier the parents identify that there is something, or even the teachers, the better it is for everyone, right? Because it's like what we normally say, it takes a village, and it's all of us working together, the teacher in the classroom and the parents as well. And the parents need support. And I think that's why they worry so much, because they don't know what the future will bring for their child, because they've never experienced this before. It's their first time. So they're looking in a different lens. And as teachers or as autism specialists as well, we try to find answers for them, as in resources, because there isn't a specific answer that you can really give. And if you don't really have a child that is autistic, you can't really even say that I understand what you are dealing with, because I don't have a child that is autistic. So I think that it's very important to create a sort of a network and a sort of coming together, so that women like ourselves can feel very comfortable within these conversations, so that we can bring back resources to the families in so many different levels, and to take that back home as well, either to Jamaica or to Haiti or to Dominica, or anywhere in the Caribbean where there are other autism specialists like ourselves that are also bringing different tools, either in the classrooms or in how they're working, so that we can have those tools to help and support the parents. I think that's very, very important. There's a lack of communication that has to be broken, so that it can become like a normal conversation.
You know, I heard, I think Michele mentioned the network. I think Beverly also, if you guys can state your network. Also in Alexandra, in the Haitian community, are you seeing more people in that community bringing children, or being accepting that the child, you know, is autistic?
The children that we had on that day for the celebration were mostly Haitian children. But then again, we've been in the community doing a lot of work for many years. We've worked with Easter Seals for many years, so they know us. So when they know you and they've seen your work, they feel more comfortable to bring their children or to have the conversation. Within the Haitian community, I wouldn't say not more or not less. However, I think that the children that we've been working with, the parents feel more comfortable to have the conversation where they go, wherever they go. It's not only community, but it's also just around with their teachers, and I think that's very important, to have a lot of communication, to have a lot of interaction, to have people around them that can help them observe the development as well of the children, and not feel that, well, you know, he speaks this way, he has no filter. You know how many kids speak that way and they have no filter? Children are children. And but I think that it's very important as a parent to think about the future of your child. There are many different things and careers and career opportunities for children with autism. I was just looking the other day at an information that came up. I think a parent decided to open a wash car company for a child. And now it has become like a big industry where there's either 3 or 4 in South Florida, where they only hire children or individuals that are autistic, which I find amazing. And I think that we have to have more of these. Easter Seals offers a lot of opportunities with culinary arts, for instance, and I think that's great. And I think that during offering coding as well is a very big opportunity. It opens doors for so many different careers. So I think we have to keep on looking for different solutions for the parents, and for parents to feel more comfortable when they observe something, ask questions, because the earlier that they observe something, the better it is, so that we can either look for a solution, find a solution, read about it, investigate more about it, and try to bring more tools and resources in our different communities.
Thank you. You know, one thing that you've all mentioned is early, all around, right? And I think also that there's such a wide spectrum, right? So it's like there's so many different examples of a child with autism. So
Yeah.
it's not just cut and dry that he or she looks like this or does this. So that's why you talk about the spectrum.
Yes. There's something that's very important as well, that the uniqueness of autism, right? There's a saying, you've met one child with autism and you've met one child with autism. So you can't really compare this child to another child. And there are some, especially for the girls as well, they don't talk much, they don't say much, and they get undetected sometimes. And it's on a later date that they find out that they have some type of delay, some type of problem, and they're on the autism spectrum. So the parents, we need to work with the parents again. And I think that the more we talk about this, the more parents will feel comfortable to ask questions, to bring forth their observations and understand the observations of the teachers as well, and not take it as if, oh, my child is different and I'm so afraid. Of course, the fear will always be there, because if you see something that you're not familiar with, you will have doubts and you will have the fear. However, if they feel that there are professionals that are out there just to help them to find resources, to find answers, because as a autism specialist, I'm always observing the children, because knowing that you see one child and you've seen that child, then we're always observing to see, how does this one react to this one, to a circumstance, a situation.
Right.
And if you have a child that doesn't speak, then it's a whole different dynamic. So it's very important to work together.
We have a
The awareness is
question
very important.
that says, is there cases where a normal looking person could be autistic? How do you answer that? Beverly?
Absolutely.
I will answer. People with autism do look just like the rest of us. So there's no such thing as an autism look. So where some disabilities like Down syndrome, there's certain defining features and not all Down syndrome, because there are many people with Down syndrome who doesn't have those features. So a person with autism could look just the way I look and could speak the same way I'm speaking to you right now. So like we say, everyone is different. You may have someone with autism who happens to have another condition, so that person may not even walk. It doesn't mean people with autism have a physical struggle or people with autism can't walk. Some people may have autism and also have an intellectual disability. So that person may not be good at reading or may struggle with simple academic tasks. But it doesn't mean that's because they have autism. You could have autism and another condition. And someone with autism, we meet them every day. Many of them look just the way you and I look.
Can I chime in here?
Yes.
this begs a question that I've gotten all the time. What does autism look like? And I usually say autism has no look. Autism chooses no specific skin color. Autism selects no specific financial status. It does not choose you based on religion. It is not contagious. It does not choose based on country. It's not country specific. And again, 1 in 31, as recently as 1.5 hours ago on the news, CNN, 1 in 31. So I just wanted to touch a little bit too on some of the characteristics of autism. Bev, I think, mentioned a lot of it a while ago. I just wanted to piggyback on that in terms of as parents, if you're listening, or stakeholders, teachers, they're just some of the characteristics of autism. All of the things are not or ever prevalent in one person. Okay, it's a spectrum. You might say the child might be a little slow. Actually, I don't want to use the word slow. Let me take that back. But they may hesitate to respond to their names. You might see something what we call echolalia. That is repeating phrase. And they're very good on repeating movie scenes. I had a classroom I could remember, and all day long is save money, live better, Walmart. Everything had to be that particular phrase. So they tend to, perseverate on certain things. You may hear this term a lot. Also difficulty in initiating conversation. I think we mentioned the eye contact. That's one, but those are all characteristics. You may not find everything in one child. We would see restrictive and repetitive behavior, the flapping of the hand, the tip on the toes. However, like I warn my fellow Grenadians, just because someone tippy toe to reach on the shed, go around town diagnosing people. You have and I know we're good on that. I had to be mindful to them that the training that I had is more or less this discussion to enlighten, to create awareness. So when you know better, you do better. And I taught in Grenada for 23 or so years. And in talking about the Jew, when I moved to the United States to study and I wanted to zero in on autism, I was able to reflect on the people in the neighborhood that we took, like looking back, and I'm like, Jesus, what have I done? And I reached out and I realized in my path that my first encounter with autism was actually a relative. And I remember growing up in the neighborhood and they would tie her to the bed. She would have tantrums and she would be tied down because they said, oh, something is happening. In that time, it was like the spirit. So years after I became enlightened, I was able to go back and say, that's what it was. And every part of my study, like I could fit her almost in every journey of the study. The obsession, the perseverating, the hand flapping, the laughter for no reason, forever laughing. So those was all some of the characteristics. Again, it doesn't mean because you see that, then you'll go around labeling with autism, which brings to the question, who can diagnose with autism? Not just everyone could go around. We have diagnosis, we have characteristics. As an educator, we have the educational diagnostic that we use from the school psychologist. Parent, if you feel that you have some concern with your child, you can reach out. And that's for in the United States here. However, I want to be mindful we don't have that privilege in the Caribbean. So in presenting my workshop, I had to be very mindful that I'm talking to a situation that I just came out of myself. So I am currently with the Caribbean Disability Network, and one of the mission is throughout the entire Caribbean, we are now working on creating a sort of pulling all the resources together, and we're going to be hosting some of the workshop like this to be training persons. It is a mission to make sure that we enlighten and inform, and every country or every island who is part of the network will be able to host some of the workshop. I believe, Beverly, you were there with me as well, correct? There's
Beverly
probably one.
LeBlanc.
Yes,
Yes,
I
there's one
am.
or
Yes,
two
I
persons. I think we are on that organization as well.
Yes, yeah, we're on CDN, yeah.
This Kevin Disability Network. So I just wanted to make, I wanted to make sure that the people that are listening are mindful and they're able to leave here today with something that some form of information. I wanted to touch on stimming as one of some of the characteristics we see with children with autism. They tend to also be strong visual learner. You have to look at a parent if you're listening or stakeholders. There is a sensory issue sometimes that arises with persons with autism. I mean, myself, I cannot do lights, and I'm always figure if I was in the United States in my days, I probably would have been diagnosed on the spectrum. Looking back at my own self, a lot of the characteristics, I actually see myself in it as well. And so bearing in that, they also sometimes they excel. I've had a conversation with a parent saying, but he don't look like if he has autism. And I said, what does that look like? And she said, well, the autism. I'm like, well, just tell me what it looks like. And she couldn't really tell me what it looks like again, because it has no look. And I always like to say, you could be looking at someone with autism. You just cannot watch and walk and say this person has autism. However, as an educator, as a parent, if you're mindful of the characteristics, then you're in a better position to know, determine what's your next step. What should I do? And again, I do work with parents and siblings, because what we notice, I'm going to chime a little bit here, is that the siblings are often overlooked because the parent, when they get that diagnosed, that they think it's a death sentence, it's not a death sentence. And so some parents is either to shelter, protect, and hide, and you forget the other sibling and you forget self. So you have to care for yourself before you're able to take care of your family. Again, we say early intervention. I have not heard of it. I don't know of any cure, but I'm very familiar with this ABA therapy, which works, evidence-based. And know Beverly, the BCBA here would be happy to hear that, because that's her field, the all behavior intervention. So I thank you. This is my contribution along this path.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. So many people are
So,
watching.
I just wanted to add, it really begins with us, because a lot of times I hear parents or people are saying parents are not aware, parents are not doing A, B, and C. But a lot of times it starts with us. How are we motivating parents, and how are we educating ourselves? Because the parents often hear a lot of conflicting information. One provider, one professional is saying this, another one is saying, oh, no, it's not this way, it's the other way. That's why using evidence-based intervention is very important, because autism has become an industry. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of quack treatments out there, because there are a lot of numbers of people with autism, and people are trying to make a profit. So make sure whoever you entrust your family with, make sure that person is invested, not just invested in terms of, making a profit or it benefiting them in any way, but they're invested with their heart and soul, and they've put their time into finding out the information, into knowing what autism is, into knowing how to help you and how to guide you. Very, very important when you get the diagnosis, get someone who knows what they're talking about. Very important. Not everyone understands what they're talking about and how to move you to the next level.
I like the way
can
Beverly
I say
stated
something,
that.
please?
I I like the way you said that because it's so important. Those resources, especially organizations that have been working with kids with autism for a very long time, those are good resources to reach out. I have parents that call me all the time and they don't know where to put their child in what school. I normally recommend Easter Seals because Easter Seals is a well-known institution in that field, and I've worked with them for more than 10 years now, but they've been around for the longest, and it's very important for them to express and communicate with the teachers in school so that they can get a proper information and diagnosis. So important. But I think that as well, it's very important for more awareness, more communication, because I think that will take away that edge of stigma, that edge of feeling uncomfortable to have that conversation. And I think that's where the problem really lays, because it's better that you talk about it, that you get a proper diagnosis, and it's not, or it is, so that in the early stage, then you know what to do, because you will find information. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of resources out there. But I think that a lot of parents are afraid. They don't really want to talk about it. It becomes a conflictive communication at home as well. There's a lot of belief systems as well around it, and it becomes a big problem. And they have to think that it's the child that suffers. So your child has to go first. Whenever you observe something you're not sure about it, it's best to ask the question to the professionals for them to get a proper diagnosis. It's very important.
Thank you. As we
I would like to say
go ahead.
something because my hand has been up for the longest while. I wanted to say something for the question in the question that was asked. What does autism look like?
Mm-hmm.
And when I train my teachers, I always tell them you have the visible and the invisible. And I wanted to bring an example. I remember when my mom came to visit my school, and she entered the school, and when she was talking, she could recognize the one with Down syndrome. But then she came and she's busy talking to this little girl. Oh my God, you're so pretty. How are you doing? And this child just looking at her. And she kept on, I just left her have a conversation. And then she came and she asked me, what's the matter with, why is she here? What's the matter with her? And I told her, she's on the spectrum. She was like, oh my God, such a pretty little girl. So it doesn't have a look. And if that is the thing about, that is the beautiful thing about it. It is not until you interact with the child that you will know. And when we're talking about awareness, our biggest issue, I'm not sure if this is the same across with you all, but society is not very friendly for parents with disabilities or autism, particularly those who really have this, who have the full-blown autism where they just run around the place. In our local language, you call them malcase, they call them badly brought up, they tell the parents you do not know how to train your child. So society is not very, very friendly to them. And then so some of the parents, if they find like that particular parent, they say, if I find when I'm walking on the street and they're staring at me, I will say, you can ask me, is there anything you'd like to know? Because they will stare at the child. And in their mind, they were like, okay, maybe take some drugs, or they die. Let me tell you, so they diagnose the more, especially the mother. The father gets off the hook. But the mother, they have a whole long list of the reasons why your child have a disability. A long list. They don't even have to know the mother. So society, even if the awareness, society itself is not being friendly to children. And then so when we are creating the awareness, and so I told my student teachers, you are the evangelist. So I come, I have my crusade, I preach to you, I give you the information. I cannot reach every community in Dominica. But if I can give you the information, and then you can go out there and share it. So their first activity is disability in the popular press. They must do that activity. They just need to go online and research persons with disabilities, and they come back there. Sometimes they find their favorite movie actor, their favorite singer. That activity, what it does, it helps them, it changes their mindset and their perception. So they must do an activity where you are getting oriented to exceptionality. Once you can see, oh my God, I so like that person in that movie, and you can find out that these people have a disability, particular autism, that changes their mindset, and they can now go out there and make. And I told them, people first language. You have to see the person first and the disability after. So these are some of the ways I get to change the mindset. But you are so very right. Autism doesn't have a look. I remember when I studied, when I was studying, and then I learned about the Cantor syndrome, because autism was actually called the cold mother syndrome, because they blame the mother. Oh, if you were hugging your child, if you were spending time with your child and your child would, until they found an affluent family that had the autism. So that's how the whole Cantor syndrome came about. So it's no longer now the single mother who doesn't have a job, but you have this affluent family who has all this money, but the child has an autism. So that shifted the mindset, because they couldn't pin it on the mother, the single mother. So I wanted to reinforce that point, that it has no color, no socioeconomic status, it doesn't have a look. We just have to understand that we all are here and we have differences, but yet we are the same. So we have to teach people to embrace diversity, teach them to be tolerant. And you said another thing also, Michele, that has to do with the siblings, because the siblings sometimes they take the brunt of it. And not just in terms of being neglected, but some of the parents, they shelter the I have a situation like that where they shelter the child because he has a disability. Yes, he has a disability, he's never to die. You still have to teach him to make his breakfast. Why should your sibling have to be bathing an 8-year-old? He can go to the bathroom and bathe himself. Give him the steps, give him a visual schedule, tell him this is what you need to. And then so they let all the older ones do all the work for this. And then some of them, they are very bright, so they feel entitled because they're very bright. So these are talking about the siblings. These are some of the things that you have to teach them. You have to teach them their routine and their structure. So I just wanted to just kind of strengthen what was already said at that point.
Thank you.
One thing that I
just
really
one
wanted to
second.
say.
We're going to be wrapping up, and we want everyone to leave how people can get a hold of you, whether it's social media, website, etc. Finish up, Alexandra?
Yes, one thing that I wanted to say, because I really I was thinking about the question that you asked, because of course, being here in Miami is a whole different dynamic for the whole Caribbean spectrum as well. Because being here in Miami, there's more resources and there's more information, even though we feel that there should be more. But again, my nonprofit is operating here in Miami. Now, is there this belief system that we need to try to break away from, of course, because all throughout the Caribbean and specifically in Haiti as well, I would say that a lot of people believe that maybe it's a spiritual thing. Maybe it's, they make fun of children that have problems, but that's on all the areas of different disabilities. And that sense of sensibility has to be created as well, where they have to understand that it is a disability, and it does exist, and it's not a spiritual thing, and they have to have the proper diagnostic for it, and they have to get support, because there is support out there. And I don't know, since you ladies mentioned that you do a Caribbean network, I'd like to know if you do have Haitian participants, Haitian specialists that do work with you, so to work in Haiti as well throughout the Caribbean. if you do, I think it's great. And if you don't, I would love to participate in that, because I think that all throughout the Caribbean, it's very necessary, because we have, it has been always a taboo conversation, and maybe parents have never really spoken about it. Like you said before, you would remember, oh, the Jojo that I saw, or this person that I saw had a problem. I remember my parents saying this person had a little problem, but they could never say it was autism. Now that I know more about autism, I can go back and say, oh, maybe it was autism at that time. But I think that there has to be a conversation, an open conversation, so that parents can feel that it is a problem. It is a thing. To be autistic it's a thing, and it does happen, so that they don't feel that it goes with their religious beliefs, or it's a taboo conversation. It's something that they cannot talk about. Then all the fears, and the child again is the one that is not getting help. So I think it's a very important conversation in our community as an overall, which I see that it's taking place. But if we're to talk about Haiti, I think that it would be necessary throughout the Caribbean to have that conversation, definitely. And then again, it's always us women that have that tough conversation. I'd like to see more men as well involved in that, in those conversations, because fathers do matter as well.
Yes.
The mothers are the ones that normally ask me a lot of questions regarding those things.
We have you, Alexandra. Do you want to leave us with any website or anything to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. I'll give you my website. Yes, my pleasure. And again, Donna, thank you so much for putting this together. This is really good, and I hope that we get to do this on a regular basis, not only next year when Autism Awareness Month comes back up, because it's a very important conversation to have and to take place, so that we can bring in resources
say the
for the people.
for those listening, if you'll say the website versus dropping it in the chat, just so.
Mindful Art Education.
Okay, Mindful Art Education.
Art education, yes.
Is
we
that,
do art as a healing tool, yoga, and mindfulness meditation.
Is that .com or .org?
.org.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank
Hi.
you.
Hi.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Beverly.
Yes, I am Beverly Dabrio. My website is abilitiesunlimitedtherapy.com. I'm sure if you just put my name into Google, you'll find my information there. And thank you for inviting me, and have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Michele?
Yes, my name again is Michele Francis. I am the president of qsbsibs.org, and we really focus on the family, the parent, the sibling. It's what about the sibling? So you can find us there and you can join us. Also too, by the Caribbean Disability Network, we stay tuned because we are setting up the scheduling for parent night like this, where parents can come on board from different countries, ask questions, and, build a support network. Again, my website is qsbsibs, Q as in Queen, qsbsibs.org.
Awesome.
Thank you. And for the parents or the family who are listening, again, I just want to leave you with my last saying that early intervention is the key. And one more thing I wanted to chime on, I didn't want to beat up on the parents too much, because I know what it is like when you get a child when you get a diagnosis. It can be overwhelming. You just know that you're not alone. There is support. There are resources out there. So please reach out. Thank you so much, and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Beverly, Dominica? You're muted.
Sorry. Yes, me again, Beverly Leblanc from Dominica. I'm special education consultant, a teacher trainer, executive director of Achievement Learning Center and Circle of Friends. I did put my Facebook links in the chat. Our website is circleoffriendsdom.com. Circleoffriendsdom.com. And it was really, really nice engaging with other professionals and hearing different perspectives, but not just kind of reinforcing what we already know. So we know we're speaking the same language. And what I really, really liked about is the fact that, I mean, they highlighting the spiritual aspect. People think, okay, somebody messed up my child. And this is basically my negative mindset that will hinder parents from actually seeking the help that they need for their child. And so thank you so much for having me. And Michele is part of Caribbean Disability Network. And also, I hope, Alexandra, that we can have you join the network and the others as we keep on to grow and share, because I think this is what we lack a lot, sharing. We do not want to be you in my small corner and I in mine, when we are all sharing the same information and then learning and growing together. So thank you again for having me. It was really a wonderful evening, and I look forward to working with you all and sharing and learning more.
I look forward to it too. Thank you for the
Thank
invitation.
you. And Beverly, are you interested in joining the network? I know we just lost Beverly. Well, I will get the website and send it to you. We want to say thank you all.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you
Thank you
for the work that you do.
Thank you so much. My camera is just acting crazy. It's okay. We want to say
You're
good
in the
night.
light.
We have like over 400 views already right now, just people engaging and loving the conversation. I just want to let people know that on Facebook, they are deleting live videos, but this is recorded. You can also go to YouTube at Caribbean Diaspora Vibes, and we'll be uploading our videos onto our page, Caribbean American Diaspora. So no worries. Okay, this information will not be lost. All right, Dr. Bavon, do you have last words? Dr. B? Maybe not. All right, everyone. I see someone Sybil on. If not, we're gonna say thank you everyone for joining. God bless. Continue to do the great work all around the Caribbean. I love the networking and the information and awareness all at the same time. Dr.
Thank you.
Bev? Okay, so maybe she's coming on, or maybe there's a little person that's messing with her phone. I think that's the case.
Good
All right,
evening, everyone.
was that you, Bev? No? All right, everyone. Have a good night. Until
Yes.
next
See you
time.
again
Good
soon.
night.
See you again soon.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank
Yes.
you so
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
Thank
Can
you.
you hear me,
Looking
Donna?
forward to seeing you ladies
Oh,
again
Dr.
soon.
Bev, were you saying something?
Could be reception.
Yeah, we're not hearing you. Sorry about that. Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night, everyone.
night.
See you again soon, ladies. Such a pleasure. Thank
Good
you.
night.
It keeps going in and out. It keeps going in and out.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
going
we're
in and
not
out.
here. Yeah.